My name is Ella. I am 26 years old, and this is my story. It's a story about love, a love that felt so real, so warm, but in the end, it was not enough. And that is a very painful truth to learn. I live in a quiet town, the kind of town where everyone knows each other. We have one main street. It has a bakery, a small grocery store, and a library. I work in the library. I love books. I love the smell of old paper. I love the quiet. My life was like the town. Quiet, simple, and maybe a little bit lonely. I had my routine. I woke up. I walked to the library. I helped people find books. I walked home. I made dinner for one. I read a book. I went to sleep. It was a peaceful life. But sometimes, in the quiet, I felt a small ache in my heart, a feeling that something was missing. Then one sunny afternoon, he walked into the library. His name was Leo. He was not from our town. I could tell right away. He looked different. He had a backpack and a map in his hand. His eyes were bright and curious. He had a smile that made the quiet library feel bright. He came to my desk. "Hello," he said. His voice was warm. "I'm a little lost. I'm looking for a book about local history." I felt my cheeks get warm. I was usually shy with new people, but with him, it felt different, easier. "I can help with that," I said. My voice was a little shaky. I showed him the section with the history books. We talked for a little while. He told me he was a writer. He was traveling, looking for stories. He wanted to stay in our town for a few months. He said our town had a special feeling. He started coming to the library every day. He would sit at a big wooden table in the corner. He would write in his notebook for hours. Sometimes, he would look up and see me. He would give me that small, bright smile. My heart would do a little flip. The quiet library didn't feel so lonely anymore. We started talking more. During my breaks, I would make tea. I would bring him a cup too. He told me about the places he had seen. Big cities with tall buildings. Mountains covered in snow. He made the world outside my small town sound so exciting. I told him about my simple life, about my love for books. He listened. He really listened. He made me feel like my simple life was interesting. He loved me. I really believe he did. I saw it in the small things. He remembered the name of my favorite author. He noticed when I got a new haircut. He learned how I liked my tea, with milk and 2 sugars. No one had ever paid that much attention to me before. It felt like sunshine after a long winter. One evening, he waited for me to finish work. "Can I walk you home, Ella?" he asked. I said yes. We walked under the old streetlights. Our town was quiet at night. We could hear our footsteps on the pavement. He didn't try to hold my hand. We just walked and talked. It felt comfortable, safe. When we reached my small house, he said goodnight. "I'll see you tomorrow," he said. And I knew I would be counting the hours. Our friendship grew into something more. Slowly, naturally, like a flower turning towards the sun. He started inviting me for walks after work. We explored all the little corners of our town. We walked by the river that ran along the edge of the town. He told me about his family. They lived far away. He talked about his dream, to write a famous novel one day, a story that people would remember forever. His eyes shone when he talked about his dream. I remember the first time he held my hand. We were sitting on a bench by the river. The sun was setting. The sky was painted with orange and pink. It was beautiful. He was telling a funny story about his travels. I was laughing. Then he stopped talking. He just looked at me. He slowly reached for my hand. His hand was warm and strong. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. In that quiet moment, I felt a connection so deep. I felt happy, truly happy. Life became beautiful. My quiet, simple life was now filled with color, with laughter, with Leo. We spent all our free time together. On weekends, we would have picnics. We would lie on a blanket under a big oak tree. We would watch the clouds. He would tell me stories he was creating in his mind. I felt like I was part of his world, his dreams. He cared for me so much. I felt it every day. One week, I got a bad cold. I couldn't go to work. I felt weak and miserable. He came to my house. He brought me soup that he made himself. It was a little salty, but it was the best soup I ever had. He sat with me. He read to me from my favorite book. He made sure I took my medicine. He put a cool cloth on my forehead. He didn't have to do any of that, but he did. He looked at me with so much worry in his eyes, so much care. In those moments, I thought his love was the strongest thing in the world. I thought we could face anything together, but there was always something unsaid. A little shadow in our sunny world. He always talked about his future, his novel, his travels, but he never talked about our future. When he talked about his dreams, I was never in the picture. He would say, one day, I'll live in a big city. Or, after this book, I want to travel to South America. He never said, one day, we will live in a big city. He never said, we should travel together. I tried to ignore it. I wanted to believe that our love was enough, that he would eventually see me in his future, that he would choose to stay. I was too scared to ask directly. I didn't want to break the beautiful bubble we lived in. I just wanted to enjoy the now, the feeling of being loved by him. But the question was always there, in the back of my mind. One evening, I felt brave. We were cooking dinner together in my small kitchen. We were laughing. It felt so domestic, so normal, so right. Leo, I started. My voice was quiet. Do you ever think about staying here for a longer time? He stopped chopping vegetables. The happy mood in the room changed. He didn't look at me. He looked down at the cutting board. Ella, he said slowly, you know I'm a traveler. It's who I am. But people can change, I said, my hope sinking. You seem so happy here. I am happy, he said, and he turned to look at me. His eyes were sincere. I am so happy with you. "You are the best thing that has happened to me in a long time." He came and hugged me. I rested my head on his chest. I could hear his heartbeat. It was steady, calm. "Let's not worry about the future," he whispered into my hair. "Let's just be happy now." He loved me enough to be happy with me in the moment. But he didn't love me enough to build a future with me. That was the painful truth. And it was starting to become clear. He wanted me. But he wanted his freedom more. He wanted his dreams more. And his dreams didn't have room for a quiet life in a small town. They didn't have room for me. The months passed. We fell into a routine. A beautiful, happy, temporary routine. Everyone in town knew us as a couple. My friends at the library loved him. My parents met him. They thought he was charming and smart. My mother took me aside one day. "He's a wonderful man, Ella," she said. "But is he staying?" I saw the worry in her eyes. The same worry I felt in my heart. "I don't know, Mom," I whispered. And that admission, saying it out loud, made it feel more real, more painful. We continued our beautiful, temporary life. But the shadow grew longer. Sometimes I would see him staring out the window. His eyes looked far away. I knew he was thinking about other places, other stories, and my heart would ache. I felt like I was holding onto sand. The harder I tried to hold on, the faster it slipped through my fingers. He loved me. I know he did. He loved our walks, our talks, our quiet evenings. He loved the way I understood his need for silence when he was writing. He loved the way I made him feel at home in my small town. He told me he loved me, many times, and each time my heart would soar, and then crash a little, because I knew his love had a limit. It had an expiration date. The end came on a Tuesday, a normal Tuesday. It was autumn. The leaves on the trees were turning yellow and red. It was my favorite time of year. But this year, it just felt sad. It felt like an ending. Leo got a phone call. I was in the other room, but I heard his voice. It was excited, more excited than I had heard in a long time. He came into the living room where I was reading. He was holding his phone. His face was glowing. "Ella," he said, his voice full of energy. That was my publisher. They read the first part of my book. They love it. They want to give me a contract. My heart stopped. This was it, his dream. It was coming true. I should have been happy for him. And a part of me was. A very small part, but the bigger part of me felt a cold dread. "That's wonderful, Leo," I said. I tried to make my voice sound happy. "It is," he said, walking around the room. "They want me to come to the city, to work with an editor, to finish the book there. The city, the big city he always talked about. The unspoken question hung in the air between us. The air was so thick I could barely breathe. I had to ask, 'And what about us?' I whispered. He finally stopped pacing. He looked at me. The bright excitement in his eyes faded. It was replaced by something else. Sadness, guilt. "Ella," he said, his voice soft now. He came and sat next to me on the sofa. He took my hands. They were cold. I have to go. This is my chance, my dream. I can come with you, I said quickly. The words tumbled out. I can find a job in a library there. We can find a small apartment. We can make it work. I was begging. I hated the sound of my own voice, but I was desperate. He looked at me with so much sadness. It was the look that broke my heart. It wasn't the look of a man trying to find a solution. It was the look of a man who had already made his decision. Alone. I can't ask you to do that, he said. To leave your home, your family, your quiet life that you love. It wouldn't be fair to you. Let me decide what's fair for me, I said, my voice rising. Tears were starting to fall now. Don't you want to even try? Don't you think our love is worth fighting for? Of course it is, he said, pulling me into a hug. I love you, Ella. You have to know that. I love you so much. He was saying the words, but his actions were saying something different. He was saying he loved me, but he was also saying goodbye. He loved me, but not enough to ask me to come. Not enough to face the difficulty of starting a new life together. Not enough to change his dream just a little bit to make room for me. His dream was for one person. His path was for one person. He cared for me deeply, but not enough to stay. And that hurt more than anything. It felt like I was almost enough. We were almost perfect. But almost is not enough to build a life on. The next 2 weeks were torture. We were living together, but he was already gone. He started packing his bags, little by little. Each packed item felt like a small cut on my heart. We tried to be normal. We went for one last walk by the river. We had one last picnic under the old oak tree, but nothing was the same. The laughter was forced. The silence was heavy. He kept saying, "I'm so sorry, Ella." He kept telling me he loved me. And I believe he was sincere. He was in pain too, but his pain was different. He was sad to leave me, but he was also excited to start his new life. My pain was just pain. Pure, simple heartbreak. I had no new, exciting life to look forward to. My life was here, and soon it would be empty again. The day he left was gray and cold. It matched my heart. He had one big backpack and a smaller bag. All his life in our town, packed up to go. I drove him to the bus station in the next town over. The car ride was silent. There was nothing left to say. We had said it all. We stood on the platform. The big bus was waiting. It hissed. It sounded impatient. "Well," he said, looking down at me. His eyes were wet. "This is it." "Yes," I said. I couldn't cry anymore. I felt empty, numb. He pulled me into a long, tight hug. "I will never forget you, Ella," he whispered. "You made me so happy." "I love you," I whispered back, because it was true. I did. "I love you too," he said. Then he let me go. He picked up his bags. He walked up the steps of the bus. He didn't look back. I wanted him to look back. Just once. But he didn't. I watched the bus pull away. It drove down the street and turned the corner. And then he was gone. I stood there for a long time, just staring at the empty space where the bus had been. Then I turned and walked back to my car. I sat in the driver's seat, and I finally let myself break. I cried. I cried for the love that was real, but not strong enough. I cried for the happy memories that now felt painful. I cried for my empty house and my empty heart. I cried because I had loved someone so much, and it still wasn't enough to make him stay. Going back to my quiet life was the hardest thing I've ever done. The library felt too quiet. My house felt too empty. Every corner held a memory of him. The kitchen where we cooked together. The sofa where we watched movies. The bench by the river where he first held my hand. It was all haunted by his ghost. The first few weeks, I just survived. I went to work. I came home. I barely ate. I didn't read. The books that were once my comfort now felt meaningless. My friends tried to help. They brought me food. They sat with me in silence. I was grateful, but they couldn't fill the huge hole in my life. Slowly, very slowly, I started to heal. It wasn't a straight line. Some days were okay. I could almost forget for a few hours. Other days, the grief was a giant wave that crashed over me. On those days, I let myself be sad. I learned that healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means learning to live with the pain. Learning to carry the memories without letting them break you. I started walking by the river again. Alone. At first, it was painful. But then, I started to see the beauty again. The way the water sparkled in the sun. The sound of the birds. I started to reclaim those places for myself. They were my places before Leo. They would be my places after him. I started a small book club at the library. Just a few people from town. We met once a week. We talked about books. We drank tea. We laughed. It felt good to connect with people again. To build new, small joys in my life. I never heard from Leo again. I think it was his way of being kind. To let me heal without false hope. I hope he is happy. I hope he is writing his great novel. I hope his dreams are coming true. I hold no anger towards him, just a deep, lingering sadness. I learned a painful, important lesson. Sometimes, love is not enough. You can love someone with all your heart. They can love you back. But love is also a choice. It's an action. It's a commitment. He loved me, but he did not choose me. He did not commit to me. He chose his dream. He chose his path. And I was not on it. And I learned something about myself. I am stronger than I thought. I survived a broken heart. I am building a new life for myself. A life that is quiet and simple again. But it's a different kind of quiet. It's not a lonely quiet. It's a peaceful quiet. A quiet that is filled with my own strength. My heart is still healing. Maybe there will always be a small scar there, shaped like him. But I am okay. I am more than okay. I am Ella. I work in a library. I love books. And I know now that I deserve a love that is enough. a love that chooses to stay. If you are listening to this and your heart is hurting, please know this. It is okay to be sad. It is okay to grieve a love that was almost, but not quite. It doesn't mean you were not enough. It just means it was not the right story for you. Be gentle with yourself. Healing takes time, but it will come. You will find your peace again. You are strong. You can do this. Keep going.